Today, we're totally decoding the hidden principles, really, the intense driving force behind the world's most successful tech entrepreneurs. You know who we're talking about: Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Gates. Now, we're not just going to sit here and tally up their bank accounts. Instead, we're pulling straight from our source material to break down the actual foundational mechanics of how they built entirely new futures. Because for them, changing the world, it wasn't just some vague ambition. It was a literal cinematic must. Listen to this quote from the text. "The biggest billionaires in the world did not think like normal people, and that changed everything." I mean, wow, this gap in thinking, it is absolutely the ultimate secret that separates average results from, well, world-changing wealth. It's this massive divergence in how they look at time, how they view risk, and how they understand value. To hit that documentary level of success, conventional thinking literally just has to go out the window. So let's dive into Section 1, the billionaire thinking gap. Right off the bat, there is this incredibly stark contrast between average and elite mindsets. Average thinking is, frankly, totally consumed by chasing short-term money. You know, that relentless quarter-to-quarter grind. But elite minds, they focus almost exclusively on building really robust, long-term systems. They're constantly asking themselves, okay, how do I build an architecture that generates immense value for the next 10 years? It's exactly this shift from just chasing quick cash to actually constructing systems that forms the bedrock of every single billionaire empire we looked at. Moving right along to Section 2, Musk, and risking during uncertainty. So Elon Musk's early trajectory features all that classic Silicon Valley stuff, right? The late night coding, sleeping under the desk. But his defining moment was really his completely terrifying appetite for risk. Picture this, it's the 2008 financial crisis. To save both SpaceX and Tesla from the absolute brink of bankruptcy, he took his last $30 million and just poured it into them. He pushed every single chip to the center of the table during peak uncertainty. He didn't retreat. No way, he doubled down. And honestly, that extreme tolerance for the unknown is practically a prerequisite for the massive growth he saw later. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would anyone take that kind of massive risk? Well, because solving massive, important problems creates immense wealth. Plain and simple. Musk wasn't out here trying to build some mildly profitable, mobile game. He felt this deep, cinematic must to completely transition the world to sustainable energy and actually make humanity multiplanetary. And here's the thing. When the problem you're solving is epic in scale, the financial reward scales right along with it. Which brings us to Section 3, Bezos and the long-term obsession. There's this absolutely legendary conflict in modern business. Wall Street is always out there demanding short-term profit. But Jeff Bezos, he famously, and stubbornly I might add, just totally ignored those demands. Dating all the way back to his 1997 shareholder letter, he basically put his foot down and said he would ruthlessly optimize for massive, long-term growth. He willingly took huge financial losses for years, pouring literally every cent back into the company to build this completely unassailable infrastructure. Because look, long-term thinking, it is not just some flashy corporate buzzword. It's a highly tactical weapon that creates true financial power through ownership. By staying 100% focused on the distant horizon, a really humble online bookstore was able to mutate into this global trillion-dollar logistics and tech behemoth. Basically, when you own the systems of the future, you completely dictate the market. Let's pivot a bit. Section 4, Scale, featuring Zuckerberg and Gates. So, Bill Gates essentially mastered the ultimate engine of wealth, software leverage. He understood super early on that writing code means you're building digital tools that scale infinitely with basically zero marginal cost. Think about it. Once an operating system is written, it costs next to nothing to copy and distribute it to a billion different computers around the world. Traditional brick-and-mortar businesses just literally cannot match that insane kind of technological leverage. Meanwhile, Mark Zuckerberg harnessed a totally different beast of technological scale: network effects. A social network isn't actually valuable just because the code is good. It's valuable because everybody else is already on it. By building platforms where every single new user exponentially adds value for all the other users, he cultivated this crazy organic growth that just exploded into an undeniable empire. Honestly, the more people that joined, the harder it became for anyone else to even try to compete. The big takeaway here is that to win on this kind of massive scale, you can't just offer a slightly better version of something that already exists. No way. You absolutely must innovate instead of just competing. You really have to zoom out, view the entire globe as your market, and use tech as your primary vehicle to just totally bypass traditional competition altogether.
All right, rolling right into section 5, building systems over quick cash.
Okay, so the unglamorous, everyday engine room of a billionaire's mindset. It relies on these relentless daily mechanics. First up, you have to choose intense focus over fleeting motivation because motivation fades, right? Second, committing to deep, totally undistracted work. And finally, maintaining relentless consistency, just showing up and executing every single day, year after year, driven entirely by that crazy obsession with the long term. And these habits, they form this brutal but highly reliable progression. It always starts with the grueling, unseen work of late-night building. But that foundation is exactly what's required to endure the crucible of high-stakes uncertainty. That's the dramatic middle act of the startup journey, where, honestly, most people just throw in the towel. But only by surviving that crushing uncertainty do you finally unlock that final stage, explosive billion-dollar growth. Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, Your Future Built Today. This leaves us with, honestly, the most vital question regarding your own personal trajectory. Are you chasing short-term money? Are you actually building systems for tomorrow? Seriously, take a second and think about it. Are you trapped just reacting to the immediate fires and demands of today? Or are you willing to sacrifice just a little bit of the present to construct a highly leveraged engine for your future? Our sources reveal this very simple, profound truth. The future rewards people who think bigger, build longer, and stay consistent while others quit. The billionaires we've unpacked in this explainer, they didn't have a magic wand. They just treated their vision as an absolute cinematic must, and they flat out refused to play a small game. So, what is the cinematic must in your own life? Like, how big are you actually willing to think, and how long are you willing to build in the dark before you finally see the reward? Something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep building.